Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And we're building in Brindleton Bay. We're at the docks. I think this is 25 Wharf Way is the lot name. I don't remember. It's in the top left-hand side of the screen if you guys need to see it though. It's a really teeny tiny little lot here on the docks. It's the only other lot. No, that's not true. There's like 3 other lots in this little neighborhood. I'm completely lying to you guys. I was trying to say it's the only one that's kind of on the pier in this way. Like there's just water underneath the pier, underneath this lot. The only other lot like that was where the bar was, which was, I believe, originally the Salty Paws Saloon or something. I actually built a restaurant there a couple of months ago, I think, if not more, and I think I called it the Lobster Pound. You might actually see it in the background of this build. But anyway, we are building here because now, okay, I'm not allowed to be judged, all right? I'm going to put that out there. I am planning another mini-series / LP. I've been so inspired with gameplay lately, and I think it's due to all of the reading that I've been doing lately as well. And let me also explain this, because I did just put a seasonal pause on my Growing Together LP. Season 1 just concluded, I want to say at the time of me recording this, about a week ago. I don't know exactly when it's coming back, but I have to plan out the story. It's going to be really great, I promise. But this has given me the opportunity to explore other little like mini-series or LPs. I don't really know what I'm going to call them quite yet, but I just started another one called Platonic. This is for a completely different one that I'm planning at some point in the future, but I also thought it would be a really nice addition to Brindleton Bay because I am from New England. I've mentioned this before, and in every like coastal touristy town, there is an art gallery. Without fail, there's always an art gallery. So that is what this is. It is technically a retail lot though, because for the purposes of this little LP I'm planning, the owner of this art gallery is selling artwork. Like that is their full-time job, and one day they hope to put their own artwork for sale as a collection in their gallery, but they gotta build up to it. That's as much as I can tell you at this point. And I just thought it'd be a super cute addition. And you could of course add something like the cafe lot items. I didn't do that here because it's just such a small lot and I was really building it for my LP more than anything. But you could add the little like espresso bar somewhere and make this a cafe / art gallery instead of a retail lot if you wanted to do that. You can make it a museum and just add the other required items. You know, there's a lot of flexibility, I think, with a build like this. So you guys can do whatever you'd like with it. But I thought it was so cute. And I actually modeled it after the museum that is on, it's where the lighthouse is, I think, on that island in Brindleton Bay. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of that default lot, but it was kind of modeled off of that build that ships with the pack, cats and dogs, because I did really like it. I feel like that lot could be ever so slightly renovated and still be really appealing to look at. And I modeled it after that because I thought it was super cute and I thought it was such a simplistic build, and I was kind of shocked with how much I liked it. And hopefully you all like it as well. I'm just adding a few details here. I wanted to make it look like it was really part of this area. So I did use this flooring from, I think it was Cottage Living. It blends pretty nicely. There's one from Base Game that could also blend, I think, a little bit with this, but this was, when you're far enough away from the lot, it's almost perfect. It's almost perfect. This is a wish that I have in The Sims 4 all the time, is I wish that some of the textures, some of the floorings, whether it's a flooring or a, terrain paint or something like that, I wish that we would have all of those available to us in the Build and Buy catalog, but this is as close as we could get, and I think it looks pretty darn close, so I kept it. And then there's this little fenced-in area with a few outdoor tables. I place a grill out there, I think off camera or like later on in the build, just so your Sims can do something else here if they do come here. Again, it really depends on what you turn this lot into, because you don't have to keep it as a retail lot the way I made it, but I thought it could be kind of fun to just have something else to do here. There's also a faux little bike rack because I thought that was cute. I could envision a lot of Sims, maybe like locals or even tourists, maybe they rent bicycles or something, and they will kind of like bike down the pier here, and they end up just popping by the art gallery and either just admiring everything or purchasing a pretty expensive piece, because they're the really big, almost plaqued, mounted photos, well, not photos, but paintings from cats and dogs. They're huge. You're going to see them when we get inside, but they're pretty expensive. I did test this out. I played like an entire day with the retail functionality. And I want to say that each one sold for like 1,900 simoleons. So very typical of a New England art gallery in a coastal touristy town, the artwork isn't exactly cheap. I don't know, that's not true. You could probably get like a lot of painted postcards and stuff like that for pretty cheap. My experience with that is like going down to Cape Cod. I've only been there once in my life, maybe twice. I really liked it, but everything was super expensive. I also added a few more street lights. Now, these, interestingly enough, were not in the cats and dogs debug menu, but the base game debug menu. And they're the exact ones. They match perfectly. So I was really happy to find those. I think I had actually found those originally when I built that restaurant I mentioned earlier. And I also added some blue benches from Cottage Living, as well as a bunch of trash cans, because I wanted to make it very accessible. You got to keep the dock and the beaches clean, so you better have a lot of trash cans. And then I also added those little like debug flags from cats and dogs, and they do move with the breeze outside, which is so nice. I was so happy to learn that when I actually went into live mode and played around with this build. But it's a pretty small build too. You'll kind of notice that the inside is not very big. It ends up having 3 individual bathrooms though, so that's kind of nice. You know, all of the Sims on this lot don't have to walk in on each other in the bathroom because they're impatient, because that often happens in like restaurants that I build and stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty small place. In the front there is, I want to say it's just a desk, because I'm thinking it has to be, it's a retail lot, so you have to have a cash register, but I'm thinking if you were going to go into a museum, you'd have to pay probably a small fee. They probably have like brochures and stuff for other activities that you could do in this general area, you know, a very touristy thing. And then you could enter the actual gallery, which would be a lot more dim and quiet. And it literally is separated by doors instead of an archway, because I did want to make that distinct separation of like quiet and maybe a little bit louder. But there really aren't too many places to sit inside either. I think I add a bench. And that might just be for, my thought is like a young child sitting with one parent while the other one checks out the gallery, because they're just afraid that the little one's gonna like touch everything. I don't know. I'm trying to think of reasons, but I've come up with none. I also used kind of the subflooring from base game for the interior, which I really liked. It looked more like driftwood, I think, without being a very bright color, because a lot of the other floorings we have that look like that are this kind of softer tone, have a vibrance to them that I'm just not a huge fan of. But I did decorate this front desk, and the only requirement was to have a cash register to really make this a retail lot, so that was kind of nice. There might be other requirements, such as having things for a bathroom, but to really make it a retail lot, all you need is that cash register, which is fantastic. And then I played around with what else to put in here. This is where I was trying to figure out, you know, do I want more indoor lights? Do I want a small seating area? And I do. I end up putting a bench, like I mentioned. I was trying these armchairs, and I was gonna put one on each side, but I thought with opening the doors, granted the Sims don't care about this, but if you open those doors, you're literally just gonna smack people in the face with the doorknobs. So I decided not to do that. I thought it was really silly, and then I tried to swap out where the side tables were, and I'm like, they're gonna break the lamps. I was thinking very practically for this build. So I shifted the door open, I put a bench here instead, a little bit away from the doors in the first place. And then I just added a painting, which I didn't set for sale, I don't believe. This one's purely decorative. And then there's also just the skinniest of legends, that my favorite plant in the world, in the corner. And then this rug from Growing Together as well. And then we move on to the gallery itself, which is very, very simple. I added the bathroom doors first and foremost, so there are 3 of them, like I mentioned. And then there's just this one wall piece in the center, and there's a piece of artwork on each side, because I always see that in art galleries, and I thought that that was kind of a nice thing to do here since I had the space. And I also I always forget about this item. It's from Cats and Dogs. It's kind of a 3D display of the lighthouse, like island area, which is really pretty. Again, I didn't set that for sale. I thought that was purely decorative, but I thought it was kind of nice to have it in this little window instead. And then I also add a few benches. I think there's one on each side of that little wall divider thing in the center, just so your Sims do have a place to sit and maybe admire a painting or two. I thought that was kind of a nice touch. And these are like the plaqued mounted paintings that I was mentioning. There are there's two different ones actually, but there's 4 or 5 swatches of each. So it gave me a lot of variety and allowed me to make things look very, very cohesive, which I was thrilled with. Now, finding a bench was difficult. I ended up settling on this one from Spa Day, I believe. All of them were very modern or very, very traditional. I felt like I couldn't find one that matched. So I settled on these. I don't really like them that much, but if you want to swap them out, you can. And then we just end up decorating the bathrooms, which is honestly not very exciting at all. They're pretty much all the same. But that is pretty much it for this build. It's a very, very short one. So I hope you all enjoyed this one. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Took a blow, turned a cheek. Those lessons cut me deep. I've never been the same. Painted bright or monotone, deep splashes of black, and paint the contrast.